Let me start with this story, and I'm going to tie it to Ukraine, to Ohio, the entire mess. We have a story that came out yesterday. Former J.P. Morgan executive Jess Staley discussed Disney princesses with Jeffrey Epstein in July 2010 in an email exchange. Now, this is coming because there's a lawsuit in a court filing by the U.S. Virgin Islands Attorney General and the acting Attorney General. Wasn't this Attorney General the one that filed the suit and then was fired? And so they replaced him with another Attorney General. So that shows you corruption just right there. Okay. So the exchange in the email was about the young women and girls procured by Epstein for the former J.P. Morgan Chase executive. Okay. He went to his properties, Epstein's properties in the Virgin Islands. They were discussing the women and young girls procured, and they used the names of Disney princesses. And at one point, Epstein was like, hey, next time, which princess? And he was like, hey, check out Snow White. I think it's Snow White. Okay? They were sending explicit photos to each other and everything else. Now, this guy is very well known. Epstein, very well known. He's friends with Epstein. We know about their relationship, just like we know about the relationship with Microsoft founder and the guy who's currently redesigning our world and our health, Bill Gates. We know that Bill Gates, his wife, one of the reasons why his wife left him, apparently, is because he would not distance himself from Epstein. Now, there are pictures of this J.P. Morgan Chase executive on the island with Epstein and Bill Gates. Now, are you telling me they flew down to the island and Snow White and the other princesses were paraded around for the J.P. Morgan Chase executive, and Epstein was doing the parading with the girls? And where was Bill Gates? He was working on software, because there's pills for that now, Bill. You can take that, and the software and hardware, they become one again. But
once again, sponsored by Pfizer.
It is Pfizer. Pfizer. It is incomprehensible that we do not know who these Johns were. And let me say it this way. If that little black book of Epstein's contained only the names of truck drivers, conservative, commentators, and diner restaurant owners, do you think any of those names would not be known today?
We have a good example of this recently with Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
Who they accused of all sorts of things and then
Correct.
Went through all the investigations and did not find anything to charge him with.
Right. So they'll charge anything. They'll do anything to smear you.
Knew his name. Every accusation was out on the table immediately.
We don't know the facts that they know, and we're never going to know. We're never going to know. But I'm telling you, if they were all people that were in red states, all those names would be known. One guy would be like, I fixed the furnace. I'm only in his little black book because the furnace has problems, and when it goes down, I go through a basement door that only leads to the furnace room, and I fix the furnace. I have nothing to do with it. He would be known as a pedophile. But the wealthy, the connected, they can get away with child rape, and somehow or another, no one seems to care. Why? Because you don't know. That's a conspiracy theory. You don't know who these people are. You don't know what Bill did. Well, no one's looking into it. And that causes one to go, why? Why? Because if we knew it was somebody that nobody knew in a red state, they would be smeared, if not in prison today. And if they had done something with children, they should be in prison. So why isn't this happening? I don't think it's just to protect the elite. I really don't. I don't think that it is just because Bill Gates and Bill Clinton were flying on his plane in a totally innocent way. I don't think that's what it is. I think that's part of it. But I think the real target is the intelligence apparatus of America. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein, this guy doesn't go from nobody to where he was, connected with so many powerful people, doing this kind of stuff. Believe me, if I'm in your home, you're flying me on your jet to your island where I'm spending a week. I have the security that checks them out 6 ways to Sunday. I know whose house I'm going to if I'm staying for a week. I know, and I get a briefing before I decide to book it on the calendar. Wait a minute. Soft book that, but leave room for an excuse. And security is looking at them, getting all the information. Then they come to me and say, okay, these are the rumors. This is what's happening. This is what we think might be happening. We recommend you don't go, but it's up to you, sir. And then it is up to me. You're telling me that Bill Gates doesn't have security like that? That could look deeper than Glenn Beck's security could? Are you telling me that all of these people, President Clinton with Secret Service detail, they didn't know anything about what was going on in that island? Bullcrap. You'll never convince me of that. Never. And I know because I live in that world, just on the edges of it, of having intel that the average person doesn't have. I don't have their clearance or their access to information. I barely have anything.
Right, like if you're the pool guy who works on this island, you're going to be excused for potentially not knowing everything that was going on.
Correct.
You're Bill Gates. You're going to have a really good idea.
You know, or at least you have been severely warned. And then when that person does go to jail the first time, you immediately go, okay, guys, you were right. I'm out.
Right.
Okay. So what is this Epstein thing? Who are they really protecting? Because I no longer believe that it is just the people like Clinton. I think they're protecting, I don't know, CIA, NSA. I think this guy was a government operative operating honey traps. And if you think that doesn't happen, that happens in the spy world all the time. All the time. That's how they get leverage over people. And I have experience with that as well. I have, thank God, been in a position to where this has happened. And thank God I was living the principles of what I truly believe. Otherwise, I would have been done. I would have been an enemy to this state. I was at Fox, and people were going through my garbage, investigated. And I had been investigated before. The first time, well, I don't want to say who was doing it. First time, it was on the left, okay? And I know the company that was doing the investigation. They're the big lefty company, okay? And they search everything. They look for anything, okay? Thank God I was clean in anything that I had ever done wrong. I had confessed to you a long time ago. I'd be like, I was a dirtbag, okay? And I'm a recovering dirtbag, and I'm trying to be better. So I had no fear. They're going through my garbage. They're going through all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, what do they think they're going to find? My wife and I actually laughed about it, okay?
You're very boring.
I'm extraordinarily boring.
The best thing they could find was an old historical document that you may have thrown out by mistake.
Right. So then I'm at Fox, and the event at the mall happens with in Washington, D.C. 500,000 people show up. Rupert Murdoch calls me to his office. What are your intentions? What are you going to do with all this power? I'm like, what are you talking about? You running for president? No, I'm not running for president. You're running for president. No, I'm not running for president. I don't want that. Okay, I just asked people to gather just to bring hope to the country. They didn't believe me. Somebody starts investigating me again. And they go through my garbage, all of it. Same group of people, different employer. You draw your own conclusions. In a meeting that I had about 2 months later, I knew they had nothing because I don't have anything. I'm boring. And I sit down at a desk, and Roger Ailes pulls out a stack, at least a stack of papers and folders, and puts it. I come in and he said, we've got to have a serious talk. And I said, okay. And he comes down, he puts a stack of papers on his desk, all in folders. And then he kind of pets it like a little kitty cat. And he says, a lot of people would like to see you pulled down. I said, I know. He said, and there's a lot of people that'll do anything to get information on you. I said, I know. Good thing I'm really boring. And he said, well, and then he petted the little file. Well, Glenn, it's always a horrible thing when a man has a wife like you have. Now I am just on fire. The hair is standing up on the back of my neck, and I lean in and grab the edge of his desk, and I said, why is that always trouble? And he said, well, because a man will step out and do something, and it's human nature, and it can really hurt a good woman like that. And I looked at him straight in the eye, and with all the calmness that I could muster, I said, it sure is, Mr. Ailes, and that is exactly why nothing like that has ever happened. And then we had like a third grade stare down for, it had to be at least a minute, felt like an hour, had to be at least a minute, where his eyes didn't move, my eyes didn't move, and I know the first person who speaks loses, and I wouldn't speak. I had already said the truth, and I stared at him across the desk behind those papers. Yeah, I know. And he picked up the papers and put them down by the side of his desk. And he said, just be careful. I've lived in this world on the very edge. I'm not even into the cheese part of the cheesy crust part of the pizza. I'm at the very, very edge of the crust of living in that world. This is not being exposed because this guy most likely was an operative. And, that's a conspiracy theory. Yes, so was that the CIA knew about or were involved with Lee Harvey Oswald, which, gang, they kept saying was a conspiracy theory until this year. Did you hear that announcement? The CIA had Lee Harvey Oswald on their books. He was an operative. Now, that doesn't mean they killed him, but they were using him. They knew about him. He was current. It was not like, we used him 10 years ago. He was currently an operative. And they covered that up. What do you think these agencies were made for? To go get our enemies. But they're not being used to get our enemies anymore because the deep state defines who an enemy is now. It used to be an enemy was someone who would not protect and defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That is no longer our enemy. it remains my enemy.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to our channel so you'll be sure to see similar videos from Blaze TV with the added bonus of signaling YouTube that your voice and opinion still matters. And if you're looking for more great conservative content, check out one of the 2 videos suggested here. And let's go, Brandon.